What is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? And today's video is going to be us recapping and talking about arguably the greatest trade deadline in kind of sports history, and that was the 2015 NBA trade deadline. Now, looking back on this, there wasn't blockbuster trades left and right, but at this time, in this moment of February of 2015, the NBA changed drastically. So I'm going to be talking about today what was arguably the greatest trade deadline in NBA history. If you guys want to see me recap any other deadlines or free agencies or just talk about the NBA, let me know your suggestions in the comments below. Also, if we can maybe hit 1,000 likes on this, I would appreciate it a lot. So let's talk about this deadline. So the 2015 NBA trade deadline had a lot of interesting deals. Starting off, we're going to talk about the Phoenix Suns trading one of their 3 starting caliber point guards, and that was Goran Dragic to the Miami Heat. So this was actually a 3-team trade that sent Goran and his brother Zoran Dragic to the Miami Heat. Danny Granger, Justin Hamilton, and 2 first-round picks were sent to the Phoenix Suns, and Sean Williams was sent to the Pelicans. Now, we all know that Goran Dragic is still with the Miami Heat, but those first-round picks have actually moved around a decent amount, one being the 2021 first-round pick, where it belonged to the Phoenix Suns. Then on the 2018 NBA draft, they did send it to the Philadelphia 76ers in the attempt to move up to select Mikal Bridges in the draft. Then the following trade deadline, at the 2019 trade deadline, that first round pick was traded in the Tobias Harris trade, so that was sent to the Clippers, and then the Clippers finally sent that pick to the OKC Thunder in the Paul George trade. So that was the first big move, and the 2 big things were definitely the 2021 Miami Heat pick and then Goran Dragic. Dragic still with the Heat, and that 2021 first has changed teams a lot. Moving on to another 3-team trade that had Enes Kanter, Steve Novak, Kyle Singler, and DJ Augustine all going to the OKC Thunder. Reggie Jackson going to the Pistons, and Kendrick Perkins, a first-round pick and a second-round pick, going to the Utah Jazz. So obviously, Enes Kanter and Reggie Jackson are the big names in this trade. Enes Kanter going to the OKC Thunder, where he received a pretty big contract extension from them, and then was later obviously traded for Carmelo Anthony a couple years later. Reggie Jackson then went on to sign a pretty big contract extension with the Detroit Pistons, and we all know that he's still there with them today, but he's most likely going to be leaving them in free agency post the 2019-2020 NBA season. So that first round pick was actually later traded in a future deal that sent Ricky Rubio to the Utah Jazz, and then the Minnesota Timberwolves gave that first round pick. Then we were hit with a pretty huge 4-team trade that honestly has some big effect on the NBA today still. This was a move that sent Brandon Knight, who was on the Milwaukee Bucks, and Marcus Thornton, who was on the Boston Celtics, to the Phoenix Suns. Michael Carter-Williams, who was on the Sixers, Miles Plumlee, and Tyler Ennis, who were on the Suns, to the Milwaukee Bucks. The Lakers' top 5 protected first-round pick was going to the Philadelphia 76ers, who originally the Phoenix Suns owned that pick, and Isaiah Thomas went to the Celtics. This trade was very shocking on kind of every team's perspective, because we'll start off with Brandon Knight, who was averaging 18 points, 5 assists on 55% true shooting percentage for the Milwaukee Bucks. So this was pretty shocking to see them trade their young point guard, who was only 23 at the time. You don't really see a lot of teams trading a 23-year-old former first-round pick point guard who's averaging 18 points, 5 assists on 55% true shooting percentage. So Brandon Knight went to Phoenix, where he ended up only averaging 13 points and 4.5 assists for them. But the following season, he did average 19.6 points a game and 5.1 assists with 4 rebounds and shooting 34% from downtown. So he did have another nice year, and then he did tear his ACL and didn't play pretty much good ever again in the NBA. Next on this list is Michael Carter-Williams, who was traded from the Sixers to the Bucks, and this one was also out of left field because Michael Carter-Williams was just coming off a Rookie of the Year award. He averaged 16 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds, 2 steals as a rookie. His true shooting percentage, though, on the other hand, was a measly 48%. So at the time, Sam Hinkie made a great move. He sold high on him and was able to retain a top 5 protected first-round pick. And Michael Carter-Williams did go on to average 14 points, 5.5 assists, and 4 rebounds for the Bucks. But the following year, 11 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and then 6 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and just kept on getting worse and worse. He did play for the Orlando Magic in 2018 and 2019, and he's currently on the Orlando Magic. So you might be wondering, why is Lonzo Ball in the thumbnail? He wasn't drafted until the 2017 draft. Well, the Lakers' first-round pick that was traded to the Sixers in this trade was originally owned by the Phoenix Suns, who acquired this first-round pick from the Steve Nash sign-and-trade. Now, throughout the 2016 season, this was looked at one of the most premier assets in the NBA. Coming to the 2017 draft lottery, the Sixers would have acquired this pick if it wasn't in the top 3. And going into the lottery, the Lakers had the 3rd projected pick into the lottery, and we all know that they jumped up to 2, and they took Lonzo Ball. So if this pick didn't stay in the top 3, and the Suns didn't jump to 4, the Sixers would have had another top 5 pick in that draft. But then we know that it conveyed in the 2018 draft to the 10th overall pick, where the Sixers ended up trading that down to acquire the Miami first round pick, where they took Zaire Smith. So 3 point guards were traded in this trade, and they were solid young point guards. And the Phoenix Suns decided to keep Eric Bledsoe and trade Goran Dragic, and they decided to trade Isaiah Thomas to the Celtics. It was honestly one of the biggest steals ever. The Celtics just came up trading Rajon Rondo, and they found their point guard, who ended up averaging post-trade for them 19 points a game, 5.5 assists on a true shooting percentage of 58%. So then the following year, Isaiah Thomas, under his first full year in Boston, averaged 22 points and 6 assists while shooting 36% from 3. And then we all know what he did in 2016 and 2017, where he ended up top 5 in MVP voting, 29 points a game, 6 assists a night on a true shooting percentage of 62%. So basically, coming out of this trade, the Sixers ended up with Zaire Smith and a asset to throw in the Tobias Harris trade. The Celtics used Isaiah Thomas and then one of the picks from the Nets fleece to get Kyrie Irving. Brandon Knight only played a couple years in Phoenix. He did have a couple nice years before tearing his ACL, but unfortunately for Michael Carter-Williams, he really didn't have that many good years in Milwaukee. Now, there was a couple other small moves, like JaVale McGee going to the Philadelphia 76ers, Ramon Sessions going to the Wizards, Tayshaun Prince back to the Pistons. A fairly big trade at the time was the Trailblazers getting Aaron Aflalo, yeah, remember him, and Alonzo G in exchange for Thomas Robinson, Will Barton, Victor Claver, and a protected lottery pick in 2016 to the Denver Nuggets. So yeah, the Nuggets got Will Barton, which is still a very good piece for them and an important piece to their bench now. But there's one last trade I want to talk about, and that involved Billy King in the Brooklyn Nets, and it's not a bad Billy King move. So this trade involved Kevin Garnett going back to the Minnesota Timberwolves, where he started his career, and the Timberwolves trading Thaddeus Young to the Brooklyn Nets. So you remember when Dwayne Wade was traded from the Cavs back to Miami? They gave up like a 2025 second round pick. The Timberwolves actually gave up a valuable asset here in Thaddeus Young. So Billy King did acquire Thaddeus Young, and you remember what Thaddeus Young was used for to acquire to the Brooklyn Nets? Yeah, they traded him on draft night in the 2016 NBA draft to get Caris LeVert, who had a really nice 5-game playoff series for the Brooklyn Nets and just signed a 3-year, $50 million plus extension for the Nets. And yeah, they have a very nice young piece for their future, and they got him for trading an aging Kevin Garnett, who basically had no value anymore, and the Timberwolves just wanted a homecoming, and they actually gave up an actual asset in Thaddeus Young for him. So shout out to Billy King actually getting an asset for Kevin Garnett. Maybe his only good asset he's ever acquired in his tenure as a Brooklyn Nets GM. But also shout out to Sean Marks for getting Caris LeVert for Thaddeus Young. So yeah, that was the 2015 NBA trade deadline. If you didn't have Twitter at the time, I'm sorry, because it was wild back then. This was like the start of NBA Twitter, so people were going crazy. This was the start of Woj bombs. But yeah, if you were around for the 2015 NBA trade deadline, you remember how insane it was. So yeah, that is going to be for me. Thank you all for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy. I was thinking about maybe reviewing the 2016 free agency in the next one of these. But yeah, just let me know in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.